Future mother-in-law lies about me flirting with sister-in-law's boyfriend. Fiancé breaks up with me before wedding. 1 year later, truth comes out. He begs for me back. I refuse. I met my ex-fiancé in my senior year of college, and we continued dating after graduation. A year later, he proposed to me, and I said yes. Now that I think about it, I should have waited for at least 3 to 4 years before accepting his proposal. I hadn't met his family, and he hadn't met mine. I hadn't even spoken to any of them. Since we were going to get married, he took me to meet his family. Honestly, I was still very young and not prepared for what was to come. I could tell that his family didn't like me very much, but we were putting up a facade. I didn't do anything wrong to offend them. I had spoken to my fiancé about it, but he said that he spoke to his mother and she loved me. I wondered if I misread the vibe. He had at least spoken to my family a few times on video calls, so when we went up to meet them, they were happy and welcoming. My fiancé thought so too. We set up a meeting for both of our families to meet. It didn't go very well. After the little meetup, my mom took me aside and confirmed my thoughts. She asked me if I was sure I wanted to marry him, and if anything were to happen, would he stand with me no matter what? I thought he would, but I was hesitant. There were so many red flags, and I should have noticed that by then. My fiancé's feelings about the meeting were very different. It was like he purposely wasn't seeing what was in front of him. He told me that his mother said it was great and that his family loved us. At this point, I could see his mother's influence on him, but I didn't think much about it. I informed my family about what he said. My father told me to be careful as he was worried about me. I told him there was nothing to worry about and everything was fine. That is me ignoring yet another red flag. It seems that the flag needed to be lit on fire for me to see it. Not to worry, it was lit on fire soon enough. We were back at my fiancé's family's place. Nobody would talk to me. I was making an effort on my part. I tried to talk to his sister, hoping that she would respond, but that thought went down the drain soon enough. She rolled her eyes at me, said, "Maiden, I'm not interested," and walked off to her boyfriend. Yes, her boyfriend was there, and everybody seemed to talk to him even though they had only been dating for a few months. I was going to get married to their son, but they didn't really care. I was hurt and disappointed. While I was there, I just needed a break from them. I spoke to my fiancé about it, and he tried to include me in their stuff, but they just excluded me anyway. He wasn't very understanding when he told me that I should put in more effort. I told him I was doing the best I could, but they just didn't like me. We fought that day. I told him I wanted to leave and that talking to him wasn't helping either. I was ready to pack up and go by myself. I could use my vacation days in a better way. I would rather be at the beach than with these people. He calmed down and convinced me to give it another try. The next few days were rough. Even my fiancé had started acting weird. I asked him what it was about, but he just got snarky. He would say things like, "I know what's on your mind and I can see who you're looking at." I was confused. I asked him what he was talking about, but he just made a weird face and walked out. At this point, I was regretting coming here. I was reconsidering my decision about the proposal. What my parents warned me about kept repeating in my mind. I had decided to talk with him after we left. A few days after we left from there, he apologized. He said that he was just feeling off and that since I wasn't getting along with his family, it upset him. I told him directly that he couldn't put this on me alone. I had put in a great deal of effort, from coming with gifts to trying to talk to them every single day, even after they ignored me. It was ridiculous, and I shouldn't have had to go through all of that. I told him that my family wasn't like that towards him, and he was welcomed with open arms. He felt a little guilty when I said that. He said he understood me and would try to diffuse the tension between me and his family. They came to visit him 2 to 3 times more. We didn't live together, and that was good. At least I didn't have to be with him all the time. I obviously went to his apartment to visit them, and he would ask me to stay, but I would decline. It wasn't going well, and I didn't want to go to work with that energy. He told me not to worry and that they would eventually warm up to me. He coaxed me into thinking that because he was their only son and the youngest, they were overprotective, but that with time, they would accept me fully. He said that they didn't hate me, that they just had trouble expressing themselves. I was bothered by this, but I bought it. We were going to have a small ceremony with our close family and friends. It wasn't going to be anything fancy as we were both freshly out of college and had only been working for about 2 years now. My parents had offered to help us out, but I declined. Soon there was only 1 month left until our wedding. The last 4 to 5 months had been peaceful when his family wasn't visiting or interfering. We were fine. One day he called me up and told me that his family had come up to surprise us and that they wanted to speak to me. He wanted me to come over immediately. I was surprised. I wasn't expecting them, but I thought maybe they were trying to get to know me now that the marriage was so close. I went over, and everybody was there, his mother, father, sister, and even her boyfriend. I was a little nervous, but this time they spoke to me, and I was happy about it. My fiancé asked me to stay over and I thought, why not? Everything went well, and 2 days later they left. I had only stayed over for one night, so I didn't know what happened over the next 2 days. My fiancé hadn't called, and I was busy with work, so I only left him texts. He didn't reply though. I thought that he might be busy because there were so many people at his apartment. Soon enough, he texted me that they had left and that he wanted to meet up with me at his house. I went over and tried to kiss him, saying I missed him, but he pushed me away. I was confused and asked him if he was okay, and he straight up told me that he was breaking up with me, with a blank face. I stood there at the entrance of the hallway in shock. I responded, "What?" I was barely inside his apartment. He then told me to give him back the ring and to get out. I wasn't expecting this. It was 1 month until our wedding. I had met his family 2 days ago, and for the first time it had gone well. I was in a happy mood. I could feel my eyes getting teary. I asked him why, and where had this come from, if something had happened. And he told me that I should know what happened. I told him I didn't, and asked him to tell me what I had done. He started yelling at me, calling me a expletive, and said that his mother had seen me that night trying to make a move on his sister's boyfriend when everybody was sleeping. He continued, saying that his sister's boyfriend had pushed me off, telling me to get off him. He asked me how I could stand there acting innocent after I tried to seduce his sister's boyfriend. I looked at him in horror. I told him that I hadn't done any such thing. I had slept through the night in his room, but he refused to listen to me. I asked him what proof he had, and he said that his mother had seen it happen, and even his sister's boyfriend had admitted it to him. I told him to call them up, but he started screaming dirty, dirty words at me, telling me that none of them wanted to see my face ever again. He grabbed my hand and pulled off the ring from my finger harshly. Then he opened the door and pushed me out, telling me to never contact him again. I was teary-eyed, but what happened hadn't been processed yet. I took deep breaths, trying to reach my car. Once I did, I got in and called my father, crying to him about what had happened. He was furious. He told me he was coming down immediately. My mother was there and took over from him, trying to calm us both down. She asked me to take an Uber, as she didn't want me driving. I didn't want to leave my car there because I didn't want to come back. I was probably in my car for about an hour before I calmed down. I was still talking to my parents. I eventually drove back to my place and called my best friend up. She came over and tried to comfort me, telling me she never liked him in the first place and that he was a mama's boy. She told me that if he loved me, he would have believed me. She said that I deserved way better than him and called him trash. I agreed with her. Over the next few days, I dragged myself to work, and that night she would come over directly to my place from work. She stayed over for a few days. I blocked and deleted his number from my phone. He had hurt me badly, and I wanted to leave him in the past. Time passed, and it had been 4 months since it had happened. I had gone down to stay with my parents. I had a little meltdown on the day that I was supposed to get married. My family was there with me. Around 5 months after the breakup, my best friend asked me to move in with her into her brother's apartment. She said that he didn't use it much, and that we wouldn't even have to pay rent because he needed someone to take care of it. I was down. 10 days later, I moved out. Her brother's apartment was in a fancy building, and I got to live there for free with my best friend. This is the best thing that had happened to me in months. When we were young, I had a stupid crush on her brother. He was 8 years older than me, so he didn't notice. I hadn't seen him in years. A few months passed, and I was back to normal, feeling the spark of life. I had completely moved on from my ex. During that time, her brother had come back to the apartment. I'm not going to lie, he was very attractive. One night, we had gone out clubbing, and I drunkenly confessed my attraction to him. He just opened the door and casually stood there, asking me if I was ready for our date or what. I was disheveled. I could hear my best friend's laughter from the hall. We did go out. Happy dance. It had been 2 months since we were dating. I had recently gotten a promotion. One day when I got out of work, I waited outside for my date, BFF's brother, to pick me up. He had dropped me off at work, and we had planned to go out tonight. I texted, and he told me he had parked around the corner and would be there in 5. So I walked out and waited for him, and suddenly, unexpectedly, my ex showed up. He tried to touch my hand, but I moved away from him. I didn't want him anywhere near me. He had caused enough crying and hurt in my life. He tried speaking to me, but I told him to go away. He kept blocking my way, asking me to listen to him, and kept apologizing to me. I didn't reply and just texted my boyfriend to come soon. My ex started rambling on, saying he believed me now and that he was an idiot. He said that his sister had broken up with her boyfriend, and now her boyfriend had spilled all the beans on what had happened, which was nothing. He said that his mother and sister had planned it all, and he went down there to confront them and made them confess. I told him it didn't matter. I told him to leave me out of his affairs as we didn't know each other anymore. By this time, my boyfriend had pulled up to the side of the road and came out of the car. He looked at my ex. He didn't know who he was. I walked up to him, and he kissed me, asking me how my day was. My ex came behind me, calling out to me. I turned around and told him that a year had passed, and I had moved on. He should too. We got in the car and drove off. My boyfriend had realized who it was. He asked me if I still wanted to go out, and I said yes. My ex didn't have much of an effect on me. Over the next few days, my ex still showed up at my workplace, begging me to speak to him. I told him not to show up anymore and that I wasn't interested in talking to him. He kept asking me if we could start over and that he wouldn't repeat his mistakes. I told him it was too late for that. I reminded him that he and his family had accused me of cheating, and he had sided with them. And the fact that I was still being polite to him after all the names he called me was way more respect than he deserved. I don't know what to do to make him go away. Update 1. 1 month later, my boyfriend confronted my ex. It was a heated conversation, but it looks like my ex got the message. He hasn't shown up since then. Update 2. Hi guys. Y'all keep saying you want an update, so here it is. It has been around 6 months, and my ex has left me alone. I did see him outside my office 2 to 3 times, but he was across the road and didn't approach me. I'm still dating my current boyfriend, BFF's brother, and no, she doesn't mind. We're mature people who make our own decisions. She is very supportive of us. NTA. Mother-in-law and sister-in-law can keep the ex to themselves and coddle him all their lives. You dodged a bullet, girl. Thank God and move on. NTA. Your ex is spineless. He is a piece of expletive for doing that a month before your wedding. Good thing you all decided to keep it small, saved a lot of money there. There is something highly wrong with your ex's family. You should have broken up with him long ago. Next story. My oldest sister has 2 sons with her husband. Harley is 10, and Everest is 5. I'm 19, female. Ever since Everest was born, there have been issues with Harley and him not liking his brother. He tried to give him away all the time. After Everest was born, he would tell his parents to take his brother back and forget about him. He tried to leave him outside. He would scream whenever anyone tried to get him to interact with his brother or pose for a photo. All the early family photos Harley is trying to get out of, and the ones of him and Everest, he was mostly held into place because he would get up and leave. I expressed concerns before. So did my grandparents, who live with my parents and me. At the time, my sister and her husband said they were getting Harley some help, and he just needed time to adjust. But he never did adjust. He doesn't want to be around Everest. He rejects him repeatedly, ignores him, yells at him when he asks him to play or for a hug. Everest gets so upset with his brother getting mad at him, and he also gets upset when his brother is there and won't talk to him. Sometimes he will not talk to him at all in a day. I have seen it before. I've also witnessed Harley try to lock Everest out and all kinds of stuff. I brought it up again more recently, and I was told all siblings bicker, and sometimes they are close. Harley has told me before he doesn't ever play with his brother, doesn't ever want to be in the same room as him, and will never like him. I have asked him why, and he just says because he doesn't have to, and he doesn't care. He also rejects any attempt from me or my grandparents to get them spending time together with us. So, all of this known, I was asked to stop babysitting on Thursdays and Fridays after school for the boys. I have an online store where I sell stuff and set my own hours, so I could. I have helped friends before and cleared my schedule for it. My sister wanted me to do that for them, but I said no. She asked me why and told me if I wanted more money. She started off with how much they'd pay when she asked, and I said it wouldn't work for me. She told me she could really do with my help. I told her it's not going to happen because I do not want to deal with her ignoring Harley's problem, which would be most obvious if I were to babysit on a regular basis. She told me I have no right to judge, and as someone who is practically a kid, I should stay out of someone else's parenting. ITA? NTA. Your sister asked and you said no. She wanted to know why you said no. You told her how you felt, and she didn't like what you said. Her not liking what you said doesn't make you an a-hole. It seems like Harley has a lot of issues. I don't blame you for not wanting to get in the middle of that. Someone who is practically a kid obviously doesn't have the skills needed to navigate that minefield. I'm being snarky, but until Holly's issues are addressed, your sister is going to have a hard time finding a babysitter for her boys. I really hope she's getting Harley the help he needs. It's a lot easier to work on these issues now. As he gets older, it would just get harder. NTA. She can pay someone else to be liable for any accidents that might occur between the kids while the parents are away. She makes it sound like no one else can parent her children. That means the babysitter has no power when dealing with issues. What is she expecting? Oh, look. Holly left the door open intentionally while you're in the bathroom, and Everest is now wandering out on the road. But hey, you'll pay to watch them, right? What if Harley decides to bully Everest at every opportunity? Push him down the stairs? Can't tell him, no, you're not allowed to do that. But guess who has to assume all those consequences? Yup, you would. NTA. I feel like parents forget that siblings can be abusive too. Harley is literally abusing his brother, and they aren't really doing anything to help it. If they were, then this wouldn't still be as severe as it is. I would seriously bring up these concerns with her because Everest is going to be messed up when he gets older. All he knows is his brother hates him and is always mean to him, and he basically gets a free pass. If I ever treated my sibling that way, I would be punished for everything I did and sent to a therapist until I realized that I'm no longer an only child. These issues are serious, and honestly are signs of possible bad events to come.